Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hey y'all, welcome to Straight Up with MS and all its crazy little circles on MS&Me Radio, which is brought to you by the MS Global Support Network. I cannot tell you enough about MS&Me Radio and Media. We are on pretty much every kind of social media site there is, or at least every one that I know of. And all of the past recordings and all kinds of awesome videos are on YouTube on their channel, MS&Me Radio and Media. So please check them out. It's a wonderful site. It's, whether you go to their webpage or whether you go to I'm sorry, my dog is wandering around in circles around me and it's very distracting. Thank you, Hachi, for leaving the porch. But in any case, I'm kind of circly today because I used up all my thinking yesterday. But I'm your host. Your circly host, Patty Long, at MS&It for Life. That's MSENIT, the number 4, LIFE. And I am basically on Twitter. I'm working on getting a YouTube page set up and figuring out how to do all that. And my camera should be here by tomorrow. So I will have a video camera that I can actually post my own videos with, which will be amazing as well, and probably a hoot to play with because I won't know how to work it, and learning new things is one of those challenges that people with MS have. I mean, it is what it is, and where learning these new things used to be super simple, especially when it came to anything to do with computers and electronics. I was able to get it, and I actually worked myself out of quite a few jobs as technology changed and companies would get this newer technology, starting with memory typewriters. Yes, y'all, I'm showing my age. But then they didn't know what to do with it, so they just used it like a regular typewriter. I then took a few minutes here or there to learn how to do stuff to make my job simpler, which meant that I had no job left because I would take what was an 8-hour job, and by implementing different parts of the technology that they had and changing things up in the order of how I did things from the way they had been doing them just slightly, it saved so much time that I was finished in 2 hours, and I did this and worked myself out of job after job after job before I decided just to go into business for myself. It was fun and it was challenging. And like I said, I picked up on new things really quickly. So I did well with that the whole time my children were growing up, and I was extremely good in math and sequencing and all of these things. And now it's like, oh my gosh, I have to count? Really? I have to count. And there may be more than 5 things here. How am I going to do that, And I have a little nephew who is autistic, and he loves numbers. And he says, And he's not little, he's 29, but I still think of him as little because I still think of my kids as being kids, even though I treat them like adults because they are adults. But um, he, on the other hand, is different because of his conditions. So, anyways, he says, Aunt Patty, I'll come over. I'll help you with your math so that you can relearn how to do it. And I just think that is the cutest thing ever. That he is wanting to come over and help me with my math skills and my sequencing skills. And, so putting things in order are not simple for me, even if I have it written in an order. Then as I start to do it and check things off, I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to do that before this other thing. And I'll swap it around. And of course, I'll swap it wrong. Always stick with what you first put. I should know that by now. I've been doing this a while. So, in any case, it's been a crazy week because I've been making plans for my trip to go to the Oceans of Hope Challenge that leaves port, I guess you would say, in Oban, Scotland. We will be boarding the sail ship on the 16th of June. And I'm going to arrive in Manchester, England on the 12th of June so that I have some time to recover. And yes, when I spilled the beans, I didn't really spill the beans too badly because, yes, I am going to be staying with the Hadfield family. And they're going to pick me up from the airport and give me a place to stay. And I think that is just amazing. They're welcoming a stranger into their homes, basically. I've talked a lot with Tony Hadfield, who will be on the ship and sailing with me, and he's the one that made me aware of this amazing opportunity and said something to the people in charge, and they reached out to me and said, hey, I hear you might be interested. And I'm like, sure enough, yeah, I am. So that's how that all got started. And when I started looking for plane tickets, and making out my budget and all of that kind of stuff, it was just me looking online at Expedia. And I didn't really know enough, and I wasn't going to book through Expedia because that's so impersonal of a way to do it, and I need to make sure that it's done correctly because I'll screw it up. So I'm a member of USAA, and USAA is basically for military personnel and their families. And my dad served in the Army. Now, depending on, your relationship to the person who served in the service and all of that, your benefits change. Well, not really change, but, like our insurance, for instance, if I was the one to serve in the military, it would be less expensive than being as the child of a person who served in the military. And if you serve in the military and you go to war or are sent, to an occupied country, or there's all kinds of other special situations, but if you're in those situations, then again, it's a little bit cheaper still. And so I have a lot of my financial things handled through USAA because it is a international company. So I can use my credit card, my debit card over there, and it's not a problem. I just tell them I'm traveling ahead of time, so they know the dates that I'm going to be gone, and then they won't red flag it, and I'll be able to use my cards. But they have other benefits besides just that, and part of it is their concierge service. And I have to give a shout out to the lady that's been helping me. Her name is Amy Rogers, and she is absolutely wonderful. And so she spent a few days hunting for the best deal for me, understanding what my circumstances were. She took time to really get a good idea of what I was going to need in the way of help with not only arranging for my flight, but for getting from one flight to the next and keeping my cost as low as I could, and all of those kinds of things. And she was just tremendous. So I actually saved $500, and that's including adding to it, travel insurance. But I saved $500 over what Expedia said, plus my flight time is reduced by a considerable amount. And she arranged, and this is amazing. The first airline company that I'm going to be on is really great. Let me flip my page here because I will find it. It's called JetBlue, and I don't fly, and I haven't been on an airplane since I was a teenager. So I just haven't ever gone anywhere to be on an airplane. And traveling around in the U.S., we just took the car and made a road trip of it. And I loved road tripping. I drove to Massachusetts from South Carolina, which is about 18 hours. And I did this with 3 kids in the back seat, or one in the front seat, but, 3 kids with me. And we had a blast, and most people are like, you're taking 3 kids? And when I started going, my youngest was 4. And no, people, I'm not nuts. My kids know how to behave in a car. And we had a blast. We sang. They all made their own CDs, or assisted in picking out the songs and stuff like that. And I think we actually started out with cassettes, but I don't remember. Maybe we started out with CDs, but I let them, pick things, and we sang, and we stopped and got drinks. And if we were hot, we soaked our heads in the water fountains, or not in the water fountains, but we'd fill a cup with water and dump it on our head. We were silly and goofy, and we were silly and goofy when we were stuck in traffic jams, and we'd turn the music up, and we'd have the windows down, and we'd kind of start a block party in the middle of the highway. And my oldest son loved handing out drinks. Actually, he'd sell drinks, but people would, if people were thirsty and you're stuck in a traffic jam, they just probably are going to buy a drink. And he wasn't charging a fortune for them. I mean, he was asking basically what we paid for. So they were getting a good deal, and they were getting a drink. And he even offered some people things to eat, if they were right next to us, because here we are stuck. And it was always in Pennsylvania for some reason. I don't know. If you're from Pennsylvania, can you tell me why it is that we were always stuck in these big long traffic jams in Pennsylvania where nobody moved? But yeah, it was, we made it fun. And that's what I kind of think that life is for anyways, is to have these amazingly fun days and fun times and great memories and love and laughter and smiles. I think that is what we're here for, and the other stuff is kind of secondary. And if you put that stuff first, and you're good to people and all that, then everything else kind of falls into play. My husband would call it luck, but luck by definition is when preparedness meets opportunity. And so I have been prepared for opportunities that came my way, and I recognized them as opportunities. And I did with this trip. getting to be on the Lady of Avenel and sail for a whole week and see the dolphins and the whales and the birds that I would never see here, and oh gosh, the seals. I mean, I don't even know what all I'm going to see, but I kind of have a sense of what I will see up in those northern regions. And so the getting there was going to be the hardest part because I don't know what I'm doing. So Amy found me, and she called each one of these different airlines. I mean, to say she's amazing is an understatement. But she called each airline, and she found that JetBlue, as soon as I walk into the airport and get to a JetBlue counter, they will assist me through the process from there. I'm not planning on checking any luggage. I'm planning on just taking carry-ons. And the rule is that you have to be able to put your own carry-on bag up above your head in the carry-on spot. Well, with my MS and my arms not working, I can't do that. It's very unlikely that I will be able to lift something up that high, especially considering I'm only 5 feet tall, and I don't wear, platform shoes or anything. So, but I do believe they will put it up there for me. And, if not, I can always ask somebody else, because when you ask people for assistance and you do it with a smile and you're all happy and everything, then it kind of makes them happy, and they are very willing to help you. So I don't see that as a problem. So, and I don't want to deal with lost luggage or any of that, even though I've got travel insurance. So, because that would just be upsetting, to get there and then not have my luggage. So everything is going to go in travel bags. And then when I get off the plane, I'll be getting off the plane in Boston. So at least I'm in a city that I'm familiar with. I've been to Massachusetts many, many times. I've been to Boston not as many times as I've been to the state of Massachusetts, but I've been to Boston many times. So, I already know how friendly people are in Boston, despite it being a big city. So I'm comfortable with that. But here's the thing. When I switch from JetBlue, the only way that I can get help from that point on, going through customs and checking in and getting to my actual flight and then switching planes again in Dublin, the only way that I can get the assistance that I'm going to need is if I ride in a wheelchair. Otherwise, I have to get my own self there from point A to point B. I have to figure out where I'm supposed to go. And I get so confused so easily, that this would present a major, major problem. So, because these people don't seem to think that anything that is a handicap comes without a wheelchair, which is what a lot of people think, and we hear that all the time about the invisible symptoms, and I look perfectly fine, and I have people say, "Oh, you're so thin, I hate you." And I'm like, okay, well, you don't have any problem hanging on to your weight, and you don't seem to have any problem with your arms or your vision or your thinking or your legs, and oh, I hate you. But no, I don't tell them that. I just grin and walk on. Or I say, don't hate me 'cause you ain't me. And grin at them and leave them sitting there with their jaw dropped and that's kind of, my smart alecky way of things. But in any case, I need the help. So I can make it through all these things without ending up so confused and so lost in a huge airport and not make it to Manchester. I mean, that's like the only thing, if you could call it having a fear, which I don't call it a fear, but it's more of, okay, I know who I am now. I know how easily I get confused. I mean, at pool, when and I got pool tonight. This is Thursday. I love going to pool. But when I go shoot pool on Thursday nights and, I'm in the middle of my match, and if the other person scratches, or if the other person misses hitting the right ball, then it's called ball in hand, and you get to put the cue ball wherever you want to put it for your next shot. And some people say that that's not how you play pool, because and I didn't play pool like that before. I played in bars and played bar room rules for years. But in APA, which is what I play, it helps to level the playing field. And so when I'm told it's ball in hand, half the time I don't understand why, because probably I didn't see something, or possibly it's because of a funky rule that I wasn't aware of. And so I'll be like, ball in hand, I'm confused. And then undoubtedly somebody will always holler back out, well, you're always confused. Just take the ball and shoot. It's ball in hand. And so they know that I'm always confused. I mean, I get confused over nothing. So I am going to suck it up, and I'm going to ride in a wheelchair. And at least this way, my arms won't be worn out from carrying my bags, because they can ride in my lap, And I don't believe I'm going to have a babysitter once I get to where I'm just waiting for them to call for my flight, and I'll be able to get up and stretch, because that is so, so important for me, because if I'm not, my central nervous system gets confused, like most of us, and it doesn't want to behave because I'm not up and doing anything. So I try to keep my sitting time, under 30 minutes. And I'm going to be basically inactive the entire day. So, I will have medications, and I will be able to carry those on the flight. And like I said, Amy was just amazing. She set this whole thing up there and back with the travel insurance to cover my entire stay while I am there, so that if something happens and I lose something, it's covered. If something happens and I get sick, that's covered. Shoot, if I have a toothache and go to a dentist, that's covered. I mean, it's crazy how cheap this insurance was, and I'm sure that was part of my benefits as well, was getting a discount on this insurance. But yeah, and I haven't told Tony this yet. So this is a surprise to him if he is listening, and he said he was going to be listening more and more often as he can, and I gave him some links because our time and theirs, and it just doesn't work exactly with his schedule. So he will listen late a lot, but in any case, I will be staying all the way until July 3rd. So I will be there in the UK for 3 full weeks. And so Tony had already agreed to go up to Oban, Scotland a day in advance, and we're going to take the trains to Oban and then stay at a bed and breakfast. So I'm hoping that for those of you that I know, and even those of you that just listen to the show and aren't on Twitter, um, I'm hoping to arrange a schedule that I can post and have MS&Me radio and media post and all their locations of where I'm going to be when, and give you guys an itinerary, because I would love, I would absolutely love to meet you guys. I mean, here in South Carolina, there's like so few people that have this disease, I guess, because we're in the wrong part of the country, I guess, for it, because it's the South, and they say people in the South don't get MS. Well, that's crazy, because a lot of us do, and I've lived in the South for pretty much my entire life. So, and I wasn't vitamin D deficient. I think that, being vitamin D deficient does come with being up north, but I don't think that triggers MS. I just think that's something you really need to be aware of when you have MS. And I even take vitamin D just so that I'm at the top of the range instead of at the bottom of the range or in the middle of the range. I want to be at the top of the range. So I take vitamin D as well. And but I will be there for 3 weeks, and I'm going to try and plan on a loop around the UK, and then I'll be flying back out from Manchester at the end, and I'm going to do as much traveling as I can with people that I know, and if they want to, hint, hint, Tony, hint, hint, Adele, hint, 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 to all of those out there. If you want to do some traveling and meet up with me, please get in touch. And like I said, if you're not on Twitter, I'm sure you can do that through the radio station's Facebook page or through the website. So do let me know one way or another. Erica will pass anything on to me. She is so great. Thank you, Erica Lyons Richardson, for everything you do. And I see, of course, my time is already up, and I never even got to my second thing that I was going to talk about after telling you how great this concierge service was, and that I have my flight booked. So yay! I am going to get there, guys. I will suck it up. I will ride in the wheelchair between flights so that I can get to the right flight and do things correctly so that I don't get lost and confused. I think that was kind of the smart decision. I'm not usually very good at making decisions, but that one was kind of an obvious one because I'd already been questioned about how are you, and I'd already said, well, the airport has people for these things. They'll help me. And I guess I had a lot of doubters. So it is set, and while I'm not fond of having to ride in a wheelchair after working so hard to get my legs back, I will do it for these 2 days, the day that I'm traveling up and the day that I'm traveling back. But anyways, if you want to see me while I'm in the UK, please get in touch. And I will try my best to get you and your location on my route plans while I'm there. I love you all. Have a great day. Smile a lot. Smile big as you can. If you have nobody to smile at yourself in the mirror and make all kinds of silly faces until you laugh your butt off. And while I'm saying that, laugh, 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 people, okay? Laugh, laugh, laugh. It is some of the best medicine out there. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.